Before India gained its independence, it was under British rule for nearly 200 years. Many great leaders fought for freedom. Some chose peaceful protest, others believed in negotiation. But one man believed freedom must be fought for. He was brave, intelligent, and ready to risk everything, even his life, for India. He left his family, escaped British arrest, travelled across countries, and built an army of Indian soldiers. He gave the world a powerful message: give me blood, and I will give you freedom. His dream was clear: an independent India, where every Indian could live with pride. His name was Subhas Chandra Bose. India remembers him as Netaji, the respected leader. This is the story of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, the leader who gave everything for India's freedom. Subhas Chandra Bose was born on January 23, 1897, in Cuttack, Odisha. His father, Janakinath Bose, was a prominent lawyer, and his mother, Prabhavati Devi, was deeply religious. Subhas was the ninth of 14 children. From a young age, he was serious, disciplined, and deeply thoughtful. He began school at the Protestant European School, later joining Ravenshaw Collegiate School, where he started reading Indian philosophy and was inspired by Swami Vivekananda. One day, after seeing a British officer mistreat an Indian worker, young Subhas asked, "Why are we treated like this in our own country?" That moment stayed with him forever. In 1913, Subhas moved to Kolkata and joined Presidency College to study philosophy. He was just 16, brilliant, and always among the top students, but he wasn't afraid to challenge authority. In 1916, when a British professor, E.F. Oaten, insulted Indian students, Subhas couldn't tolerate it. He led a protest and was expelled, but he didn't give up. He joined Scottish Church College and graduated with first-class honours in philosophy in 1919. His family hoped he'd join the British Civil Service, so to please his father, Subhas agreed. But his soul was restless. In 1919, Subhas sailed to England. He studied at Fitzwilliam College, Cambridge, and in 1920 passed the prestigious Indian Civil Services exam, ranking 4th in the British Empire. But the more he studied, the more he understood the truth of colonialism. During those years, news from India shook his soul. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre on April 13, 1919. In Amritsar, thousands of Indians had gathered peacefully to protest. British Brigadier General Reginald Dyer entered the garden with armed troops and, without warning, ordered them to open fire on the crowd. The shooting lasted about 10 minutes. Over 1,000 people were killed, and more than 1,500 were injured. Subhas was devastated. He sat alone in the college courtyard, and one thought echoed in his mind: "My soul is on fire. How can I serve such a government?" He thought again. "How can I wear their uniform when their bullets kill my people?" On April 22, 1921, just before joining duty, Subhas resigned from the ICS. He declared, "I will fight for India's freedom, not serve the rulers who enslaved my country." It was a bold decision, a turning point, the birth of a revolutionary. Subhas Chandra Bose returned to India in 1921, not as an ICS officer, but as a freedom fighter. He joined the Indian National Congress, the main political movement fighting for independence. There, he met Mahatma Gandhi for the first time. Subhas respected Gandhi's commitment, but deep inside, he believed that non-violence alone might not be enough. He began working with C.R. Das, a senior leader in Bengal who became his mentor. In 1923, Bose became the editor of the Bengali newspaper Swaraj, exposing British injustice and calling for complete independence. The British saw his words as dangerous, but for the people, they were a call to action. Under C.R. Das's guidance, Subhas became the chief executive officer of the Kolkata Corporation. He walked the streets of Bengal not as a ruler, but as a servant of the people, improving sanitation, fighting for workers' rights, and inspiring the youth. People began to call him Deshnayak, the hero of the nation. But as his popularity rose, so did British fear. In 1924, Subhas was arrested without trial and sent to prison in Mandalay, Burma. Far from home, he fell seriously ill with tuberculosis. But even in sickness, his spirit never gave up. He spent his days reading, writing, and dreaming of a free India. Between 1921 and 1941, Subhas Chandra Bose was jailed 11 times for his speeches, his writings, and his fearless protests. He had supported the non-cooperation movement led by Gandhi, but over time, he felt that peaceful protest alone would not be enough. He said, "We must prepare not just to resist, but to overthrow British rule." In 1938, Subhas was elected president of the Indian National Congress. He created the National Planning Committee to draft a blueprint for India's future, calling for industrialization, scientific modernization, and complete independence. But these ideas stood in contrast to Gandhi's vision, which focused on a village-based economy and non-violence. In 1939, Subhas ran for re-election and won, defeating Gandhi's preferred candidate. After the results, Gandhi said, "Patabi's defeat is my defeat." The party was divided. Subhas was heartbroken. He had never wanted to divide the movement, so out of deep respect, he resigned from the presidency. But he did not step back from the fight. He formed the Forward Bloc to unite farmers, workers, and youth under one goal: complete independence. By 1940, the world was at war. Without asking the Indian people, the British dragged India into World War II. Subhas saw an opportunity. The British Empire was stretched thin. This was the moment to strike. But the British saw him as dangerous and placed him under house arrest in July 1940. On the night of January 16, 1941, Subhas Chandra Bose escaped. Disguised as Muhammad Ziauddin, a Pathan insurance agent, he was driven out of the city by his nephew, Sasir Bose. They travelled over 1,500 kilometers to Peshawar, risking arrest at every checkpoint. With the help of Indian revolutionaries, Subhas crossed into Afghanistan, reached Moscow, and finally arrived in Berlin, Germany in April 1941. In Berlin, Bose established the Free India Center and began, as at Hind Radio, broadcasting messages to Indians across the world. He formed the Free India Legion, an army of around 3,000 Indian soldiers. He even met Adolf Hitler, but realized Germany could not help India directly. So, Bose prepared for a dangerous journey to Japan, where a real army was waiting. In early 1943, he traveled from a German U-boat to a Japanese submarine in the Indian Ocean, eventually arriving in Singapore in July 1943. There, he took command of the Indian National Army, or INA, on October 21, 1943. He announced the formation of the Provisional Government of Free India, as Ad Hind. He then gave his most famous speech, "Give me blood, and I will give you freedom." With Japanese support, the INA moved through Burma and reached the Indian border. They hoisted the Indian flag at Moirang, Manipur, the first Indian territory freed from British rule. The INA even included the Rani of Jhansi Regiment, one of the first all-women combat units in the world, led by Captain Lakshmi Sahgal. The INA fought bravely at Imphal and Kohima in 1944, but suffered heavy losses. Poor weather and weak supply lines forced them to retreat. Still, they had shown the world that Indians were willing to fight and die for freedom. In August 1945, after Japan surrendered, Netaji prepared to seek new support. On August 18th, he boarded a Japanese plane from Taipei, Taiwan. Shortly after takeoff, the plane crashed. Subhas was taken to a hospital, badly burned. He reportedly died that night, but his body was never recovered. No Indian official ever saw it, and so, the mystery began. Did he really die in that crash, or did he live on in hiding? Even today, no one knows for sure. After the war, the British put iron officers on trial in Delhi. The public reaction was explosive. Mass protests erupted. Even soldiers in the Royal Indian Navy began to rebel. The British feared losing control of their army. After years of struggle and the sacrifices of countless freedom fighters, India finally became free on August 15, 1947. Though Netaji never really saw that day, his sacrifice played a key role making it happen. He gave up his career, his comfort, and his safety. "Give me blood, and I will give you freedom." He didn't just speak those words, he lived them. Even today, his name lives in the heart of every Indian. Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, the leader who gave everything for India's freedom. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Join us for more stories of history and courage. Thank you for watching.